It was the kind of morning that made your boots stick to the earth, thick with dew, heavy with the scent of wild clover, and already warming under the stubborn spring sun. The sky was a clean blue, interrupted only by a few lazy clouds drifting past like tired sheep. Luke Miller squinted at the horizon, his back aching from digging trenches for new irrigation lines. His old cap was stained with sweat, and the shovel in his hand felt heavier than it used to. He leaned against the wooden fence, wiping his brow with a dirty sleeve. His dog, Ringo, a mutt with more heart than pedigree, lay nearby, panting in the grass. Luke took a deep breath, letting the scent of soil and grass fill his lungs. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest. And it was his. Then came the sound, an ugly, wheezing cough of a machine struggling for breath. Luke turned his head just in time to see a sleek black SUV rolling slowly along the gravel road bordering his property. It lurched, coughed again, then stopped completely. A plume of steam rose from under the hood. Luke frowned. That was no local vehicle. Too polished, too clean, or at least it had been before the mud splashed across the tires. He set down his shovel, motioned for Ringo to stay, and made his way toward the vehicle. As he approached, he saw a woman inside, sitting stiffly behind the wheel, sunglasses covering most of her face. She seemed out of place here, like a magazine ad had wandered into the middle of a country postcard. She looked frustrated, maybe even a little panicked. Luke knocked gently on the driver's side window. The woman jumped slightly and rolled it halfway down, revealing a pair of sharp green eyes and expertly applied makeup. "You okay, ma'am?" Luke asked, keeping his voice calm and non-threatening. She gave a tight smile, obviously trying to stay composed. "It won't start. It was making some kind of noise. Now it's just dead." "Pop the hood. I'll take a look." She hesitated, maybe weighing the risks, then reached for the latch. The hood clicked open, and a hiss of steam escaped. Luke stepped back slightly, then propped it up. The heat hit him immediately. "Looks like you overheated it. Coolant's low," he said after a moment's inspection. "Great," she muttered, stepping out of the car. Her designer boots sank into the soft earth, and she glanced down with a grimace. Luke smirked inwardly but kept his expression neutral. "You from around here?" "No, just passing through. My GPS got me lost." "Yeah, they're not too friendly out here. The roads change every few seasons depending on the weather." She crossed her arms, her annoyance barely contained. "Well, this is exactly the kind of morning I needed." Luke fetched a jug of water from his nearby truck and carefully poured some into the coolant reservoir. It wasn't a permanent fix, but it might get her to town. "You'll want to get this looked at soon. Should hold up for a few more miles, though." She gave him a surprised look. "You really know your way around engines." "I know enough to keep tractors running." "Guess it translates." There was a pause. "I'm Ava," she said finally, extending a hand. "Luke." "Thank you, Luke. You really saved me." "Just part of being neighborly." She opened the car door, hesitated, then looked back at him. "I mean it. Thank you." Then she drove off, the SUV kicking up gravel as it disappeared down the road. Luke watched her go, not sure why he felt like he'd just watched something important slip through his fingers. 2 days passed. Luke returned to his routine, feeding the animals, patching fences, checking the fields. Life was hard, but familiar. Predictable. Then, late one morning, he heard the sound of tires crunching on the gravel again. He turned and saw the same SUV rolling down his drive. Ava stepped out, dressed differently this time. Jeans, a denim jacket, boots more suited for the terrain. She looked like someone trying to blend in, but her posture still screamed city. "Still lost?" Luke called, half joking. She held up a paper bag and offered a sheepish smile. "No, actually, I came to say thank you. Properly." Luke raised an eyebrow as she approached. He took the bag, warm biscuits and a small jar of honey. "Local bakery. You didn't have to do this." "I wanted to. I didn't say it properly the first time. I was flustered." He gestured toward the porch. "You can sit, if you want." They sat on the steps, sharing biscuits while Ringo sniffed at her heels and settled beside them. The late spring breeze carried the scent of wildflowers, and Ava's sharp edges seemed to soften in the warm air. "I've never been on a farm before," she said after a while. "Could have fooled me," With those boots, Luke replied. She laughed, and it was real, unguarded. Okay, fine. I bought them yesterday in town. I wanted to look the part. And now they hurt. They talked for over an hour. She asked about the animals, about planting schedules, about what it was like to live where you couldn't see another house for miles. Luke answered her carefully, still unsure what she was doing here, but liking the sound of her curiosity. I needed a break, she said at last. City life was getting to me. He didn't ask more, didn't need to. She wasn't ready, and he didn't push. But she came back the next day, and the next. By the end of the week, she was helping in the barn, awkwardly but sincerely. Luke taught her how to feed the chickens, how to tell when a goat was bluffing, and how to shovel manure with the least back pain. Each day she stayed a little longer. And each day, something shifted. One afternoon, they were fixing a busted co-op wall. Luke was hammering while Ava held a board in place, her hair pulled into a messy bun, cheeks smudged with dirt. Do you ever think about leaving? She asked. Luke paused mid-hammer. You mean leaving the farm? Yeah, starting over somewhere else. Doing something completely different. He shrugged. This is all I've ever known. But if you could, if someone gave you the chance. He didn't answer right away. She looked at him like she was afraid of his response. I guess it depends who's asking, he said finally. She smiled faintly and turned back to the wood. The moment lingered, charged. That night, Luke couldn't sleep. Something about her tone had stuck with him. Like she wasn't just asking, she was offering. Curiosity finally got the better of him. He pulled out his phone, typed her name. Ava Sinclair. His breath caught. There were hundreds of articles. She was the daughter of Jonathan Sinclair, billionaire tech magnate, real estate tycoon, and the face of a dozen political campaigns. Ava had been a tabloid fixture. Charity galas, fashion shows, high society drama. And then, nothing. A story from 2 months ago. Public fallout with her father. Rumors of a breakdown. A disappearance. Luke sat back in his chair, stunned. She wasn't just passing through. She had run away. The next day, she was waiting for him in the barn. You found out, she said, eyes searching his. I did. She looked down. Why didn't you say anything? I was waiting to see if you would. She nodded. I didn't want to be Ava Sinclair here. I just wanted to be someone else. Someone real. You lied. I didn't lie. I just didn't tell the whole truth. He stepped closer. So what now? She didn't answer. Just turned and walked away. That night, a storm rolled in, the worst in years. Luke raced to secure the animals, battling wind and rain that howled like a living thing. A tree branch cracked off the old oak and narrowly missed his truck. He didn't sleep. At dawn, soaked and bruised, he returned to the porch. A note was pinned to the door. I'm sorry for everything. And beside it, a check. Enough to save the farm. More than enough. He stared at it, numb. Then folded the note and pocketed the check, untouched. He drove to the motel. She was gone. The weeks that followed passed in a haze. Luke worked harder than ever, trying to outrun the echo she left behind. The chickens didn't care, the goats didn't notice, and Ringo just looked at him with big eyes full of questions. Then one morning, a black car pulled into the drive. A man in a suit stepped out, every crease perfect. Mr. Miller. I'm Bennett. I work for Mr. Jonathan Sinclair. Luke didn't bother hiding his suspicion. What does he want? He sent me on behalf of his daughter. The man handed over an envelope. Inside was an invitation, an art exhibition. Ava Sinclair, featured artist. Luke blinked at the words. His fingers trembled. She said you'd understand. She painted the chicken coop. Luke stared. He didn't speak. He packed a bag. The gallery was everything he hated. Marble floors, sharp lighting, champagne in flutes. But there, among the pretension, hung her paintings. The barn, the fields, the old red tractor, Ringo, and the co-op. She stood near the center, radiant and nervous, in a simple dress. When she saw him, she froze. Then smiled. He walked straight to her, through the crowd of strangers and whispers. You left. You let me. I didn't know what to say. You don't have to. I didn't cash the check. Her eyes widened. Why not? Because I don't want your money. He took her hand. I want you. She kissed him, and nothing else mattered. A year later, the farm was thriving. She taught art classes in the barn. Tourists came. He still worked the land, still fed the animals. Sometimes, her SUV sputtered again. And they'd fix it together, side by side. Love, like engines, just needs the right spark. And when it comes, it runs forever.